Our speaker this morning is Angela Jen. Angela is a 4-year boarding student from Shanghai, China. She's the co-chair of Students Advocating for Mental Health, an international student ambassador, and the manager for the softball team. She's also the proud member of Mrs. Nelson's advisory. Angela?
I still remember my green doodles in shoeboxes, jagged marks collapsing into free-flowing lines, zigzagging and colliding with wild imagination, recording every glimpse of the world, my world. The ancient Chinese believed that handwriting was a window to the soul. Through my marks, I threw bits and pieces of my mind onto a canvas. In that moment, the rainbow scrawl gaping at me reciprocated my rose-colored, vibrant, and admittedly naive views of the world. It was a honeymoon of color. Drawing opens up endless possibilities, and I could not think of anything better to do. Taking the advice of my teachers, I began entering works into competitions. It felt fulfilling to let my art be seen and resonated with by complete strangers. The validation and joy that came along with qualifying for unique opportunities were unparalleled, and the comments I received from relatives and friends were blissful and uplifting. I basked in my parents' beaming smile and loved how I finally transformed into that Chinese kid next door, the new example used by parents when scolding their children. Yet, thinking back, I realized that at some point in my teenage years, my motivation for creating art became warped. It was no longer about what brought me fulfillment, but instead for honor and pride. When my art showed up in galleries in the top of competition result lists, it was simply the natural state of the world. It was how it should be. There was a euphoria and anxiety and selfish pride that naturally came with a game of chance. After all, what is more arbitrary and biased than art judging? But the expectations gradually solidified with each brushstroke and remained untouched after the fixative was laid on. However, slowly that golden taste of pride dissolved into the sight of the missing blue ribbon, and it spread with the reflection of lethal winners and each unheard compliment. The restraint around art became something suffocating, like the forever thinning oxygen about a concealed, waning candle. I wasn't creating for myself, but to meet and exceed expectations that others have set for me. Or, I began to wonder if I am the one setting such expectations and conforming to the tiny squares on the checklist towards success. The thrill of pride bloated my motivation, a bubble that floated ever higher with every result and newfound ambition. There's a scientific term for this. Shout out to Ms. Vukas in A period psych class. It's called the over-justification effect, a cognitive bias that occurs when an external incentive is introduced and therefore reduces a person's intrinsic motivation to perform a task, hence causing people to lose interest in activities they used to enjoy. In simple terms, my intrinsic motivation for creating art has been replaced with the external motivation for validation. And what is the ultimate validation for an ambitious, selfish, and anxiety-ridden high schooler? I would say it's probably getting into college. December 18th, 2023, 5 p.m. I let out a shriek as vibrant dots appeared from the side of the screen and swirled across my view, landing into their respective spots and spelling out the bolded word, "Congratulations." Scrambling for my phone, I hollered to the door, "Mom, I got in!" and sped out the room as fast as possible, toppled downstairs, and charged right into her. This is my college decision reaction in a nutshell. At the moment, I felt elated. This letter marked the beginning of a new chapter of life, and I have limitless potentials awaiting to be explored. I was so glad to finally get into college. Yet, as the days went by, the initial excitement dwindled, and replacing it, a newfound sense of loss. My application season was over, officially over. My goal for the past 4 years has just been reached, and the future is yet again filled with vast uncertainty, along with a bitter taint of burnout. Nothing felt quite right. I did not have the passion for nearly anything. The colors from my oil paintings seemed to drain. My bucket list for the summer has diminished into muzzy bullet points on a piece of gridded paper, and even getting judged by Grace Wong for eating ice cream with a fork felt normal, which it shouldn't be. This newly attained liberation now tasted like wax, revolting if you ask me. And it appeared to me that throughout these past 4 years, my aspirations, namely the pursuit of visual arts, have dissolved into an instrument for me to achieve success. After its purpose was served, its meaning now felt undefined. So for the past few months, I have contemplated the reason behind everything. How did I pick up art in the first place? What does art bring me, and why do I still do it? A few months ago, my mom dug out my 2018 planner and sent me a snapshot of its first page. The bold words "goal setting" were imprinted on top, and the rest of the page continues as follows. What do you want? To get into my dream school. Why do you want it? To make my parents happy. And after reading such naive remarks, I perceived a bizarre sense of irony. It felt as if my life trajectory has been molded by consecutive goals, paving the path I pursued. After getting into my ED school, though, this trail has reached an end. No fixed goals were left to complete, and there were simply too many variabilities. The propelling force was gone, and my motivation ground to a halt. During this time, though, I did do some soul searching. For example, I read the book Excellent Sheep, a commentary on the absurdity and madness that fuels the ascent into higher education. Moreover, it touches on the motivation to study the liberal arts in the first place. To quote, "Art is a transmutation of the daily bread of experience into the radiant body of everlasting life. It's the incessant labor of combining your own experience, taken in and metabolized by intense feelings and thoughts, with what you have acquired in books. Art and life, back and forth, each illuminating the other, both together creating a self." I think I still do innately enjoy the craft of art. It brings me joy to watch ideas evolve on paper, and the attainable expressiveness is greatly inspiring. Art in itself is arguably a method of self-exploration. With each additional piece, I understand more about my inner thoughts and feelings. I still don't think that I have all the answers to the questions I posed, nor any idea of what the next year, or even the next few months hold. But I have come to believe that college should be a place where I can continue my exploration of self in my last formative years, and not be as worried about what the future entails. I hope that I will eventually get out of the static mentality of checking the boxes on my life's to-do list, to not be the sheep that mindlessly conforms to the herd's footprints. The greatest thing a human soul have ever does in this world is to see something and tell what it saw in a plain way. My way is painting. Thank you.
Please stand